Mr. Porter.
Hello, how are you?
Thank you for joining us here for Red Hot.
Thanks for having me.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your career and what you've been doing. What kind of music did you listen to when you were younger?
That's interesting. It was all gospel until I was about 11.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was introduced to musical theater and I became obsessed. So it was gospel, Sondheim.
Wow.
And then R&B, soul, and everything else. You know, once I got to an age around 16 where I could start buying my own music because I had my own money, I did the deep dive, you know, and did all my research and learned everybody. Of course, I knew all the greats and all the stuff that was on the radio. I'm talking about owning stuff.
Yeah.
You know, owning my own music and really dissecting it. And, you know, so that was what I listened to. Mainly gospel.
Okay. Was there anything other than music that inspired you?
You know, there were lots of things that inspired me. Fashion was one of them. Cooking. You know, I learned how to cook from my grandma and my great aunt and my mother. That was pretty much it, though. You know, the arts in general was the thing that saved me and saved my life.
Fueled you?
Yeah.
Nice. Did your family support your wanting to be in the arts?
As much as they understood how to at the time, which was not much. But it didn't matter about the outside, you know, the peripheral family. My mother didn't understand it, but she wanted me to do something good. So she knew it was keeping me out of trouble. So that was how she was able to support it. You know what I mean?
When did you see that your family saw, like, okay, he's going to be okay? When was that?
I don't know. I actually probably think it was like last year. You know, because that's when I finally became okay.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, there have been so many ups and downs. This business is crazy. I've never been homeless or anything like that. But like, you know, it took me a long time to get to this place. You know, so it's really, it's such a testament to perseverance and, you know, stick with itness. Just keep doing it.
As a queer person of color in this business, have you found that, and you've been in various factions of the entertainment business for a while, do you find that as we're in 2020, that things have gotten better?
Yeah, things have gotten better in the business. We have a long way to go, you know, but the career I'm having right now is not a career that would ever have existed before right now. So we have to be clear about that. And with as difficult as it is to look towards the future and be frustrated sometimes, I can remember a day when who I am right now would never be where I am right now. So I'm grateful to have lived long enough to see that day and see that transition. Yeah.
Where do you see room for improvement?
You got a year. The improvement comes in gratitude. The first thing I find that people want to ask me or talk about is, well, it's about time. It took that long. You know, it's like, let's live in the joy. Let's live in the gratitude. Let's all live in a space where gratitude then lifts us to the next moment. That's how we all can do better. I think personally, you know, I find in this new sort of celebrity space, I guess, if that's what you're calling me or whatever, you know, I spend a lot of time navigating negativity.
Which is important for your own mental health.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time navigating negativity, and especially in the press.
So when you're talking to, you're fortunate enough to meet lots of new and upcoming talent, queer, not queer, people of color, not people of color. Is this the sort of advice that you give them? Do they come to you and like say, hey,
Yeah.
how do I navigate
Well,
this
that
space?
and the work. Do the work.
That's what I would say.
People coming out, how did you get that job? I went to the audition and I was good at my job and I was ready for the audition when it came. I wasn't sitting at my house asking people, how do I do this? You got to do the work. You know, always be ye also ready. And if you're ready, then you ain't got to get ready when the opportunity comes because you already ready. That's where I came from. You know, that's how I grew up. That's how I was taught. That's all of the information so I've always prepared myself. And, you know, it's always about the work. It's always about the work. It comes back to the work, period, the end. That's what I tell everybody.
It's I mean, we live in such a transient time. Things move so fast.
Yeah.
That often, and I don't want to generalize too much, but youth feel like success should be tomorrow.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily
Like they're
want to
entitled
work.
to something.
Entitled to something.
You're not entitled to anything. Anybody. Nobody is entitled to anything. Do the work. You know.
Understood. You become an LGBT icon and spokesperson. Do you find it, people talk to you, press, you get interviewed, do you find the responsibility burdensome at this stage? Or?
I chose this. I was chosen for this. This is my ministry. This is the point. No doubt about it. This is the point. I looked at myself 20 years ago when I was in the depths of depression, and I spent the first half of my career making choices that other people told me I was supposed to make. You know, trying to live up to some masculinity standard that society places on us so I could get a job. You know, and it wasn't until I leaned into myself. I leaned into the truth. You know, I was watching Oprah and they were like, she was on with Iyanla Van Sant and Maya Angelou, and they were talking about service. You know, and essentially they said, when your intention is service, everything else will work itself out. And I thought, well, how can I be of service in an industry that is inherently narcissistic? And it hit me like a ton of bricks. The very thing that everyone's telling you is your liability, which is my queerness, is the thing that you must lean into, which will eventually be of service to a lot of people.
That's scary.
It is scary because when I started to do it, there wasn't anything for me to do. There wasn't anything for me to be. There was no template to go by. It was just like me jumping off a ledge and going, okay, Lord, all right, I'm trying to be of service. You know, and I went through all the things that you go through. From bankruptcy to no place to live. I wasn't homeless living on the streets. Let's be clear about that. I'm saying owning my own having my own lease, having my own space, not having to sleep on sofas, not having to, you know, having work. I didn't work on Broadway for 13 years. In the middle of this, I'm going to do the right thing and lean into service. You know, so it's not comfortable. It's not a comfortable thing.
It's an unknown.
But it's an unknown, and it's a necessary thing, though. You know, I never, ever imagined that who I am and what I represent right now in this moment in the world could ever exist. You know, I just never, it wasn't an option. There was no context to dream about it. You know, just like marriage equality, there was no context to dream about gay people getting married. So I didn't dream about getting married. That was just not, it wasn't even, I didn't even, you know what I mean?
100%.
It's like, it's hard to describe and find a language for it because my breath is taken away every day I wake up and see what my life is right now. It's like,
I hear you.
it's a gift. It's a blessing. So yes, it's a choice. It was intentional, and I don't feel I don't feel any pressure about being a role model or a whatever you want to call it. You know, that's what I'm supposed to be. If not me, who? You know, I never had anybody.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Is be that person. You know, fill that void that existed.
And if you're standing on the shoulders of a lot of people.
Yes.
I mean, it was just as Oriel Hurston's birthday.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been quoting James Baldwin lately.
James Baldwin is my favorite. And a lot of people who were not able to fully be their authentic selves when they were living. You know, and the ones who were inside of that authenticity still had to hide in some way. They're the shoulders that I stand on because they created a space for me to just simply exist. You know, and then it's up to us to carry the torch. Yes.
Speaking of which, can we talk a little bit about Sylvester?
Yes.
Explain to someone who might not be familiar with his artistry who he was and what he means to you.
Well, Sylvester, for me, was the first Black, queer person of color who had success in the music industry, which is where I wanted to be. He was the only one I ever saw in my lifetime who was out. I've seen a lot of others who were not out. No shade. No shade. You know, you gotta do what you gotta do so you can eat. It was not okay. You know, I lived through the R&B record business in the 90s. They ran me out of there because I was a faggot. Make no mistake. It was for no other reason. And now everybody can see. It's not about talent, because I got that. You know, it's not about the songs. The songs were great. You know, it was a judgment on my humanity, and I was dismissed. So for some reason, Sylvester was able to break through. It was pre-AIDS crisis. You know, it was dance, it was disco, it was house, it was human, it was inspirational, it was hopeful. And then he died of AIDS. And that archetype died with him. No more.
And
I'm picking up that torch. It's time.
And many folks were happy to see it die.
Yeah, of course. It ain't dead no more. She done been rebirthed, honey. She done been rebirthed. It's really exciting because it's something, you know, it's a space I've been trying to really find, like, what is the language? What is my musical language as a recording artist? It's not what's happening right now. You know, and it just came to me. It came to me about a year ago. It's like, yeah, that's what it has to be.
Red Hot is
Yes.
celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. What do you remember about any of the Red Hot organization releases?
I
singles?
just remember that I feel like it was annual, and it was always about the empowerment of the LGBT community when we were in the most need. You know, and I always say this, I say that art has a way of transforming and healing, and music is a universal language. So you put the two of those together, and you got some healing energy going on. And that's always what it felt like to me. You know, once again, this music is hopeful. We need hope. We need to be reminded of how to be hopeful in this time when it's not so hopeful.
You've been invited to have a seat at the table. What are your plans to remain there? Or does your, say, vision board for yourself is it something else?
Yeah, my vision board is beyond somebody else's table. I'm making my own table. People can come to my table. I've used the skill set that I have to get to the table. Now that I have your attention, bye, I'm making my own table. That's how we keep moving it forward. I think about Ryan Murphy, I think about Pose, I think about, that company helping our ally, our white ally in a position of power who came and said, come on, Pose, we got to tell this story. And not only did he tell the story, but he's empowered every single one of us beyond just this. Whether it's how he hires, his diversity and his structured half initiative, where it's about women, it's about trans people, it's about people of color who he hires and teaches the stuff that we don't get taught. We don't even get invited in those rooms. We don't even know where those rooms are. That's what I mean with the 1%. It's like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, yeah. But where are the boots? Where do I even buy them? Where's the store where I can buy the boots? Like, that's what we mean when we talk about it not being equal. It's like we talk about this 1% thing. There are things going on in this world where you're like, oh, this is a funny anecdote. I mean, an interesting anecdote. It's like I'm becoming the celebrity again. It's very awkward to talk about it in that sense, but I have. So I have to, and going to the airport has become a little bit difficult by myself and going to the gates and stuff. And so they have this service, this greeting service. You're whisked in, you're taken in the back, you drive to the plane on the tarmac, you go up the side of the plane and they get you to your seat and you don't have to, it's like, who knew that even existed? Like, that's what I mean. I understand the 1% wanting to hold on to that shit. We don't even know what it is. And when you start to understand what it is, you're like, oh, okay.
Well, folks don't want us to know.
Of course.
Because it empowers you.
Yes, it empowers me. Yes, it empowers us. It's like we could all participate in that. We could all participate. There's room for all. That's the thing that I really talking about, the negativity in the business sometimes. It's like there's room for everybody. Let's not live our lives in lack. Let's live it in abundance. Let's claim abundance. Let's speak life into ourselves, even when other people can't and don't know how to. Speak life into yourself, and the rest will follow. It's a fake it till you make it thing. It's what I had to do. And I did it for years and years and years and years and years. And there were many, many times where I didn't think I was going to make it. I'm 50 years old. Thank God Black don't crack. I can still sort of try to be a movie star. I still look good. I can try. You know what I mean? It's yeah.
I always tell folks, like, particularly when it comes to music, the business part, entertainment business, and passing on knowledge, as you're saying, Mr. Murphy does for you. It's like, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So you're gonna like, oh, thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
the information.
Thank you.
I'll go get it. I don't want you to give me anything. I'm not asking for a handout. I'm asking for my fair shot. That's all.
Means I have to have all the.
That means I have to have all the information. Like an education.
How about that?
One that I don't have to pay for in private school. Because I can't afford that. There was a time when you could get a real good public school education. I got one of those. I don't see that anymore.
Right.
That's not happening anymore.
That's by design.
Oh, it's Completely by
Systemic,
design.
it's by design.
It's completely by design to make sure that our electorate is uneducated so that they remain followers. That's what it is. Make no mistake, I'm going to tell the truth. Call me whatever you want to call me.
Keep telling the truth. It's true.
You know, I use the example of the Trump supporting community just blindly following to get rid of Obamacare. Meanwhile, they're all on the Affordable Care Act. They don't even know it's the same thing. That's not their fault. That's by design. Just like you said, it's by design. They don't even know how to get the information because they weren't educated to do so. On purpose.
It's frightening.
I'm sick of being frightened. Fuck that. I'm not frightened. I'm mad.
Good.
I am furious. I'm mad. I'm filled with rage, and I'm trying to find something to do about it. You know, and as an artist, this is how I
express.
This is how I express it, and this is how I get to make a difference and make a change. That's the part about the career that I'm having right now. That's the part about the visibility that I'm having right now. You know, it's like that Oscar dress. I was like, oh shit. I should have put a dress on 20 years. You know, like the conversation that it has started. You know, I've seen it. I've seen it in my community, which is one of the most homophobic communities to exist on the planet. I see it cracking open. I see conversations that happening that have never happened before. That's a good thing.
That is always a good thing.
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Interesting that what you were saying about working with Ryan and him empowering people that he works with. That is a ministry.
Yes.
Because you are.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be in a position of power where I can serve and keep serving. You know, that's why I want my own table. Because then I can go get the people I want and bring them to the table. You know, I know the folks I want. I got everybody already in my Rolodex. You know, so.
Speaking of which, dream project. What's something that you've held close to you that you like, I really would love to do, whether it's like a movie or a TV show or
Sylvester.
Music.
We're working on a
biopic
series for Sylvester. Yeah, I think it's going to be more like a limited series.
Oh, awesome.
You know, 6 or 8 episode kind of thing where we really get to like delve in. I would love to do that. I would love to do a play James Baldwin in something. I'd love to play Donny Hathaway at some point. You know, all of these stories of these
amazing people
need to be told. It's time to tell them. And you know what there's no star. That was the excuse for a long time. There's no star that can play. You know, we can't do Sylvester. There's no star. Now you got one. No more excuses. I just love it.
What do you love about Caught in the Middle?
Caught in the Middle reminds me of a time in my youth when I was a club kid and I was on the dance floor being uplifted by this song. Music is the universal language. The hope. That's what this was. I loved this song and I didn't even know what to choose and y'all chose it for me. So
it has you written all over.
Yes, I love it.
I feel like you are the perfect troubadour to kind of bring it back out.
Thank you. I think so. I hope so. I really did love this song back in the day. You know, Black people do not see queerness at all. This is what you're talking about. This is where I was. But Black people don't see queerness at all. They don't want it. They don't see it. You know, it's like I was nominated, Golden Globe nomination. And I go on several Black websites and publications where they're lauding Black excellence with pictures of the people who are nominated. and mine is not in there.
And you know why.
And I know why. And nobody wants to talk about it. So I'm the bitch that's going to talk about it.
You should.
I'm the bitch that's going to stand up and talk about it. And it's, the thing about me is I'm now 50 years old. I've lived through it. I know the Bible too. You can keep that shit. Stop justifying your hate with this book that was written 2,000 years ago. I don't care. I don't care. It doesn't matter. We can agree to disagree. This is not about acceptance. This is not about tolerance. I hate both of those words because that means that my validation comes from the outside, from somebody on the outside. I don't need your validation. What I require and what I demand is your respect for my humanity as a human being, just as I respect yours. Even when I don't understand you. That's the only conversation that needs to exist as we move forward. Otherwise, we won't be able to move forward. Like I said, I chose it. I was chosen. This is my ministry. I waited a long time to preach. Now it's time to preach. Now it's time to give a word for real.
Folks, listen.
Yeah. It's time.
And be inspired.
Yeah, it's time. I go back to those old James Baldwin tapes, and I watch him, and I'm like, oh my God, we're so, because he was so enraged. And people don't know what to do.
He had the
language
and
the language
to tell,
and they
couldn't take it.
They don't know how to do that, and that's.
I got you.
That's me. It's like, no, I know how to talk about it too. I know how to talk about exactly what I'm doing. It's important. You have to be able to have the discussion. And I know how to do that. And I couldn't, and with as difficult as it's been and as hard as it was for me to not, succeed at 20 and be the male Whitney Houston, I wasn't ready. I'm here to do what I'm doing now. I wasn't ready to be able to stand on my own 2 feet, grounded in myself and in my authenticity, and be secure in that, where I can look anybody in the face. You will respect me, or there's the door. The end.
Operating from a place of power.
Yes. And I was not there at 20. I was not there at 30. I wasn't there at 40. I was on the journey to it the whole time. Now I'm there. It's so glorious. It's so beautiful. It's just, the stress goes away. That the kids call it giving 0 fucks.